Hi everyone, welcome back to the Navigate Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for tuning in for the Thursday 4 o'clock News and Politics show, and we have a packed one for you. As we do every Thursday, we kick off with former state representative, former Deputy Secretary of State, now heads up Stages of Freedom, Ray Rickman, to give us Big View.
Thank you, Kate. So every month, like clockwork, there's a mass shooting in school and sometimes elsewhere. Mass shooting. And this has been going on since the late 60s, about 68 or 9 it started. Before that time there would be one every 5 years, and 69 there'd be one every month, and all the years. Already this year, into February, we are having, depending on who you listen to, someplace between 14 and 16 mass shootings, including the killing of 17 high school students in Florida. Are you listening? Now, back in last year, the end of the year, October, Las Vegas, they're having a country fair, a music festival, you know, just really high-end, fun country music. And a gunman on the 34th floor of hotel starts to kill people. And of course, it is the largest mass shooting in American history. Let me get my figures right. It is 59 dead and 546 non-fatal gunshot wounds. Are you listening to what I'm reminding you of? And then there are 100 people who get their arms broke or something like that, jumping over walls, or people walking over people, running over people, trying to save their lives. Now, why am I talking about guns again this week? Well, yesterday I was at another media place, and two of the technicians, one in particular, started almost yelling at me, telling me that the solution to this is gun on gun. And I'm trying to figure out how warped their thinking is by telling them about Las Vegas, a man who has 39 AK-15s, who fires at least 1,200 bullets in 14 minutes, who is so high up in the air that it takes them 25 minutes to figure out where he's shooting from, and the police almost 50 minutes to break into the room. And you're supposed to have your 6-shooter and take him on. Are you listening? So I explained this to them clearly, because maybe they have no memory of this event. And this is their answer to me. It was an exception to the rule. It doesn't count. It was an exception to the rule. 700 people harmed and or dead. Thousands of family members, sick and hurt, sad for a lifetime. It's nothing you ever get over. Your brother, cousin, father, son, sister, at a country music fair having a very good time, a light moment, and a mass murder. An evil man kills them with a gun, and he has 39 of them, and they are weapons of war. Now, as you know, young people are starting a movement, and I'd like you to join in. Any member of Congress who will not vote to ban AK-15s, they won't vote to do that, to save our children's lives. You don't vote for them. Simple as that. Hold your nose and vote for a Democrat. Hold your nose and vote for an independent. Put them out of office. Our children's lives are more important than almost anything that you can imagine.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Navigate Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm GoLocal News editor Kate Nagel. Would like to thank Ray Rickman for coming in as he does every Thursday to give his big view, and I'd also like to welcome my next guest, Philip Graham. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for having me. It's great
You were
to be here.
one of the event organizers for this weekend's the Saturday's Indivisible RI rally at the State House. No president is above the law.
Right.
Talk with us a little bit about this umbrella Indivisible RI group, and then we'll talk about the rally.
Okay, well, Indivisible RI is part of a national organization called Indivisible, and if you want to join, you can go to indivisible.org and do it. And it's basically a resistance movement that was started by two Democratic staff members who had been harassed for 8 years by the Tea Party. And they figured, let's turn their tactics back on them. And so they came up with this big a notebook of how to get the attention of your representatives, how to call them, how to go to their offices, how to get their attention about how you were really basically quite tired of what was going on already with Donald Trump. And so there are now thousands of hives all over the country that are resisting, calling their representatives, doing all kinds of political work that's trying to get this country back on its in good shape again.
And there's going to be a long speaker series on Saturday of folks, elected officials, community organizers.
That's right.
I saw John Marion with Common Cause, Aaron Ruggenberg, state rep running for lieutenant
I got a
governor.
whole
You've
list
got
here,
the
yes.
list.
I got it. There's the Rhode Island Women's March organizer, Shanna Wells, Common Cause, John Marion, Linda Finn for the Rhode Island Coalition Against Gun Violence, Rodrigo Pimentel for the Dreamers, Kathina Koster for the Women's Project, Dr. Don Anderson for the Rhode Island Council of Churches, so many people.
Yes.
Anise Germain for Hope and Change in Haiti, and of course, as you mentioned, the Representative Aaron Regenberg. We got a lot of people.
A lot of folks. Now, the concern, as I've seen from literature online right now, is, it's no president above the law.
Yeah.
A specific concern with the Mueller investigation and the Trump administration's involvement, interference, if you will.
Yes. I mean, the former prosecutor and defender, Seth Abramson, has basically said that Donald J. Trump has been showing consciousness of guilt for the past year. I mean, it's quite obvious that he's obstructing justice, and Mueller is getting there closer and closer, and I think it's starting to catch on. There was recently a poll of American social scientists to say who is the best president, and George Washington was up there, and at the very bottom was Donald J. Trump. And even for conservative scholars, he didn't get better than 4 from the bottom. So there's a reason why we're so angry.
And so this event on Saturday, people are going to be speaking. Is it just to keep continued watch in your estimation about this administration?
Oh yeah, yeah. And also to show that if the unthinkable happens and that Donald J. Trump tries to fire Mueller, then there's going to be a lot of angry people all over the country, and we won't stop until we get satisfaction.
And so I'm sure, have you heard from a large group of folks who are going to turn out on Saturday?
I think we've got a pretty good group. I don't want to make any predictions, and because I'm giving a speech too, I don't want to think about how many people may be watching me, but I think we're going to get a really good crowd. Move On is part of it, and Rhode Island, and Indivisible, and then the March for Truth is also going to be there. So everybody's trying to get the folks out, and it's going to be pretty rabble-rousing, and we're going to have some fun. There's going to be music too, so why not?
I saw that. So if folks want more information, should they go to Indivisible RI on Facebook? Is that a good place to start?
That's a very good place to start, yes.
Very good place to start. And speaking of starting, this is not the only event that Indivisible RI is having this month. The upcoming meeting regarding offshore drilling at the Marriott, that's on the Facebook page as well. So this is multifaceted. This is
there's a lot,
not one and done.
There's a lot of stuff. And we're also getting organized with an organization called Postcards to Voters, which is a really good organization which you sign up. You get the addresses of people who are going to be voting, registered Democratic voters who are going to be, they're living in districts that are having special elections, and you send them a postcard saying, please don't forget to vote. And it's a way of making sure that you get out the vote for those special elections, which Democrats have won 100% of in the past several months.
So would you say this is an umbrella organization, if you will, of
Yes.
like-minded organizations underneath
Absolutely.
it coming together? Again, Indivisible RI. The event's at noon.
Yes, it's at noon on Saturday, the 24th, and 30% chance of rain, I think, will be good.
And just while I have you in here, Philip, how did you get involved?
How did I get involved? Well, I woke up one morning, it was after an election, and the person who I thought was going to win didn't, and so I really felt like I never really woke up. I was in a nightmare, and most people I know think they were in a nightmare of a place where it's kind of a bizarro world where the person who shouldn't have won, who probably won with the help of the Russians and maybe in fact one of the worst traitors in the history of the United States, is now president, and we're trying to wake up from this nightmare.
Okay, so the event this Saturday, the one coming up later in this month, I believe it's the 28th, we'll have that information
Yes.
on the site as well.
Yes.
But again, Indivisible RI. Anything else you want folks to know, Philip, while you're here in studio? One, let people know about this event taking place on Saturday, but anything besides?
Well, I would say that if you go to the Indivisible National website and find out about all the kinds of things you do, find out about how you can call your representatives, how you can show up at their offices you're upset, how you can get involved, because this is a very critical year in the history of our country. This is a year where we have to get our democracy back. And if you really feel very strongly about it, if you feel passionate about how things have gone completely wrong, then it would be a good thing down the line to your children and your grandchildren or your great-grandchildren to say, I did this to save the country.
And I'm sure you probably heard this past weekend, Mitch McConnell's comments that he thinks the GOP is going to lose seats in the midterm. Do you think he's playing politics here, or do you think this is going to be the truth?
That they're going to lose seats? Well, you know, many years ago, the Canadian Conservatives lost every single seat except 2, and I'm hoping for the same.
Well, this event's going to be taking place on Saturday. Again, Indivisible RI. You can check them out on Facebook. We'll have the links on afterwards as well. But wanted one of the event organizers, Philip Graham, to come here into studio to tell folks a little bit more about it. I'm sure we'll have you back in the near future.
Oh, well, thank you.
I
I'd be happy to come.
appreciate you taking the
so
time
much.
to come in.
Thank
I'll
you.
let you
Thanks
go
for
around the
having me.
corner.
Okay.
Okay, take care. Philip Graham with Indivisible RI. The event taking place this Saturday at noontime at the Rhode Island State House. No president is above the law. There are a number of groups and speakers who are going to be turning out. Again, a focus particularly on the Trump administration's response to Mueller's investigation, but there's going to be more as well. And as Philip said, even some entertainment. So we'll have more links to that as well on GoLocal. Be sure to check it out. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere with our next guest in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel. I'd like to welcome my next guest in, Martin Harris. Thank you for taking the time to come in
Kate,
today.
Thank you for having me.
Lawyer for Lillian Calderon. I'm sure folks have seen the story here. This is the Rhode Island mother who was detained by ICE. ACLU sued for her release. Now we've seen just this week ICE's rationale because her legal team and others called for an explanation as to why she was detained. I'm going to run through here the list that they had put out, and Martin will talk a little bit about it. They said that it was believed her 2002 order of removal, which she had been taking steps to address since 2016, rendered her a flight risk. They also cited the availability of bed space and the lack of child care issues. When you heard this from ICE, what was your reaction?
Well, first of all, the fact that she had a 2002 final order of removal, ICE was well aware of that. DHS was well aware of that for many, many years after that. She had first entered the United States in 1991. She had been put in removal proceedings in 1998, and unfortunately, she lost her bid for asylum. She was derivative on her dad's claim. That was in 1998. She lost that, and then she did an appeal with another attorney, and that was when she got the order of removal. That was in 2002. Fast forward a few years to 2008, 6 years after that, she had a new attorney file a motion to reopen. Again, there were legal issues there. She was very, very young in 2008. I don't think she was an adult at that point, but she was still very, very young. And there was a bid for NICARA, and there was a request by her then attorney to revisit the whole issue with asylum. That got denied, and so in 2002, they knew she was a final order. In 2008, ICE knew she was a final order. After that, she got married in 2016, and in that same year, she filed for DREAM Act. When she submitted her application for DREAM Act, she indicated on the very first page of that application that she was a final order of removal. So they knew it in 2016. When she submitted her marriage petition through her U.S. citizen husband, Louis, On the I-130 petition, on the very first page of that petition, it asks her what her immigration status was, and she indicated truthfully that she was a final order of removal. And
So she was always forthcoming all throughout the process.
She was always forthcoming, and so the obvious point is to suggest that she was a final order of removal and a risk of flight is not really accurate.
With a husband and 2 children in Rhode Island.
Procedural immigration history with her husband and her children in Rhode Island, all American citizens, all stable, all here.
So before we even get into what ICE's rationale was, this came up at the press conference when the ACLU had sued just prior to her release. You know, folks had asked about the Dreamer possibility, and you just went through the legal channels of which she tried. How many of these cases are there out there that it's the Dreamers in DACA isn't cut and dry, that there's very nuanced situations for people, and she came again when she was very young, that have gone through the process but had, for various reasons, legal flags placed on them, that it's, you just can't say I was brought here as a kid, you know, give me amnesty under DACA.
Well, this is the problem. Her DACA application was filed, I believe, in 2016, and ultimately was denied in, I want to say, April of last year. It was denied because she could not document to the satisfaction of USCIS several years of where she was. You've got to prove continued physical presence to establish your eligibility for DACA, and they were not satisfied. The suggestion being that she may have been somewhere other than the United States, which is highly unlikely. The problem also is with a lot of young people that are come here undocumented. They're undocumented. It's very difficult for them to get to create a paper trail by way of credit cards or getting a bank account or something to verify that they were employment. All right, they can't get employment. They don't have employment authorization, and so I think the decision that was made by USCIS in denying the DACA was really, really hard. It didn't completely and totally balance all the equities, the totality of the circumstances here. And in fact, I asked USCIS to do an internal review of that earlier decision and reopen and allow her, if it's possible, to offer or provide additional information that might help them find that they were incorrect initially when they denied the DACA for her.
Okay, because that's going to be one of my next questions now about the next steps that she has the stay. But going back to ICE having to provide those rationalizations for the detention, you know, the ACLU pushed for this, but it was the judge, was it not, who said to ICE, I'm seeing too much of this, you better come back with us and tell us why this occurred. So it wasn't just through, again, the civil liberties side of it, it was from the legal channels.
Sure.
They've got beds and the lack of childcare issues. We heard from the husband about the burden and the strain of having an absent mother.
I think one of the clear themes and clear messages, I think I've been clear, I think the ACLU has also been clear, that this was a completely arbitrary act on the part of DHS. The justification being that she was a final order, I don't think that's justified if you understand her complete immigration history. The fact that they suggest that there was beds available completely dismisses the fact that she's a mom and she has 2 small U.S. citizen children at home, 1 and 4, who may look up and wake up in the middle of the night and ask where mommy is. And so the fact that they have a bed available really sort of, completely ignores the humanitarian aspect, the family aspect that's pivotal and critical here to her whole process and to the whole process of adjusting status. This is supposed to be about families. This is supposed to be about keeping families together, not splitting them and dividing them.
What have you seen? I'm sure you've seen it on social media. Of course, a lot of Rhode Islanders are divided. You've seen the comments, she's here illegally, send her back and make her go through the process. What do you have to say when you hear that type of rhetoric?
Well, America has always been considered a melting pot, and that's the great thing about this country. I think really it's quite honestly, it saddens me to hear that type of opinion, or for people to have that type of attitude. She didn't ask to be brought here when she was 3 years old. She didn't ask. And so she's 30 years old now. the life that she has, to a great degree, she didn't choose the life. The life was chosen for her. And so the fact that she is happily married, and she has 2 beautiful children and a husband that loves her and supports her, I think for people that have that type of attitude, they sort of forget what this country is all about, what the United States is all about, what makes this country one of the greatest, if not the greatest country in the world. The fact that we have a diverse group of individuals that make America the beautiful country it is.
And you're a lawyer, so you know her situation with having been detained. You know, we see it, we hear it in the news all the time. What is a detention facility like?
Well, you know, you get a lot of stories there. You know, it's isolated. It's very difficult. You know, you're cut off from the real world. You're isolated. You don't have the ability to mix or communicate with people that are important to you, like your family, and sometimes even your attorney. And things, unfortunately, you know, can happen to you that really are upsetting, like taking you and transporting you to a facility outside of the facility that you're supposed to be in when there's a federal stay in place saying you're not supposed to be removed. So you have a lot of hardship there. It's not easy. It's very, very difficult to adjust to for many, many reasons, as you heard Lillian talk about the hardships that she experienced for that one period, that period of time, a month or so that she was detained there, having to listen to films about how to prevent being raped in the prison, and a lot of other things that she had to adjust to in a very, very short period of time. She was traumatized by that, and I believe she is seeking treatment to help her deal with that trauma that she experienced while she was incarcerated.
So what's next? We know there's a stay. I know that there was the ACLU, and you as a lawyer, you know, hailing a victory, getting her out for the time being.
Sure.
But what's next for Lillian?
Right now we are trying to help her adjust her status. We do plan on filing several applications to USCIS very, very shortly, within the next couple of weeks. We're putting together what we believe are good and significant documentation to ask ICE, to ask USCIS to allow her to stay here in the United States, to allow her to adjust her status. We believe there are critical and hard and extreme hardships that would inure to her husband and her children if she's not allowed to adjust her status and stay here in the United States. So that's where we're at right now. She has a 90-day window, as you know, and so it's around, I think, May 12th that the stay has been granted. That was the I-246 stay that I had filed with ICE in Burlington. She has a 90-day grant to you know, stay here. We may, depending on what the timeline is, we may need additional time in which to try and complete that process. Separate and apart from that, I have a motion to reopen pending at the Board of Immigration Appeals. That's in Falls Church, Virginia. I'm asking the board to revisit their earlier decision and hopefully open the case and remand it to the immigration court so she can apply for perhaps other forms of relief she might be eligible to receive.
Are you optimistic that she'll be able to stay?
I'm always optimistic. I believe in this country. I believe in the system. I believe in the immigration system, even with all the problems that we have. Some say it's broken, but if it is, it certainly can be fixed. The system was designed in a certain way. The eligibility that she has, the forms of relief that she's eligible for, she's eligible to pursue them here in the United States. And so ICE and DHS have postured that she's a final order and she is not eligible for relief here. Well, my understanding of the rules and my understanding of the regulations provide and suggest that she can apply for adjustment of status and apply for waivers of certain grounds of inadmissibility here in the United States, and that's what she's going to do, and that's what she's going to pursue, and that's lawful.
You know, we hear this case of Lillian, the young mother with 2 children and a husband here. How often is this happening around the country?
You know, this is the real concern. Our president had, you know, went on record several months back and had, at least in addressing the fears and the concern the Dreamers had, that that ICE and DHS would only be concentrating on criminals that had, you know, that were here illegally, that were ordered deported, people that had criminal records. My recollection is that Donald Trump sought to assure immigrants here, DACA, they're not properly documented, but they have that form of relief, that they would not be subject to an arbitrary snatching and detention by ICE. However, we have seen a recent trend over the last several months and in Massachusetts, where now ICE is standing outside the door of USCIS while individuals go in to try and properly pursue their status through a marriage interview. I think one of the things that Justice Wolf had asked ICE to provide was a record of the number of individuals who were snatched or detained during the marriage interview. I think the number is 7. And so this is a unique and recent phenomena, but it does show a pattern and a trend now, and they're sort of moving in a different direction in terms of the aliens that they are targeting to detain.
A final question for you, it's an aside from the Lillian Calderon case. We've had Joseph Molina Flynn in the studio here before because he had a client who was involved in what looked like notario fraud. Now, this was an instance where it was a known individual from New York, was operating out of Rhode Island here. He received some fraudulent documents, was in that limbo. He was not an American citizen, was fearful of going to the authorities. Is the state doing enough in that regard for those people who are trying to go through it? And there might be people preying on them to identify those individuals to say, you know, we heard from the Attorney General said that he should go to law authorities. I think folks in that situation would be very hesitant to go to law authorities. Is this something that needs to be addressed here at the state and across the country?
You're referring to people who have no status here, but their identification's compromised?
They're compromised, they're looking for work permits, or they might be thinking that they're applying for asylum, and that there's folks presenting themselves to be notarios to go through the process, taking hundreds if not thousands of dollars.
Yeah, there was a well-known organization here many years ago, going back to maybe 1995. They were known as Liz International, that duped a lot of aliens that they paid. As a matter of fact, unfortunately, Lillian and her dad, this was part of an earlier basis that they used to try and pursue NACARA, that they had paid this organization known as...
She was involved with a
right.
less than forthcoming organization.
Right, and their family paid, her dad paid, her mom paid on behalf of Lillian to register for ABC benefits. That's what you have to do in order to be eligible for NACARA. But unfortunately, the paperwork was in order. The BIA was not satisfied with the documentation that they had provided. A lot of times when you're duped by these organizations, there is no paper trail.
Nope.
They're transient, they move around. It's a hit and run, and they take your money, and so they're targeted, they're preyed upon. I've had a number of clients I've represented over the years that I have been successful in having the cases reopened because they were duped and taken advantage of financially in order to port it, because the proper legal procedures were not pursued because they were duped and used by these individuals.
Should the state be doing more from a legal perspective, whether the Attorney General's or the U.S. Attorney's Office, for these fraudulent organizations to hold them criminally responsible?
I think they are. At least this one organization that I mentioned was prosecuted federally right up the street here in U.S. District Court of Massachusetts. I haven't really looked at any headlines lately about any other organizations that may have been prosecuted, but sure, I think if our state Attorney General is aware of it and our federal government is aware of it, if the U.S. Attorney's Office is aware of it, they should be protected too. They're a class of individuals, and they need protection from people that prey upon individuals in our society for whatever reason.
I appreciate your taking the time. I know you're busy, and I know folks are curious about the next step for Lillian, and especially after, again, the ACLU did send out the rationale by Immigration and Customs Enforcement as to why Lillian had been detained. But the legal process is still moving forward for Lillian and her family, and Martin, as her lawyer, I appreciate your taking the time to come in.
I appreciate you having me.
Okay, Martin Harris, thanks so much. I'll let you go around the corner. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Martin Harris, the attorney for Lillian Calderon, who was released from being detained by ICE. Now, we did just hear this week the rationale by ICE as to why she was detained. Martin gave his vantage point and a reaction to that, and also next steps for Lillian as she goes through her process here. We'll be right back here in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center with our next guest, so please don't go anywhere. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Navigate Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm GoLocal News editor Kate Nagel. Would like to welcome in Pam Gomes. Thank you for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
As we're here on the street, it is starting to snow in downtown Providence, so if you're commuting, be careful out there. Give yourself a little time if possible. But we can't quite see it here because we've got the Superman building in between us and the State House. But if you've driven by the State House this month, it has been lit up for the Pan-African flag, and Pam was pretty much the catalyst for making this happen. So talk to us about the process, and we've seen a lot in social media about it. There's been a lot of discussion. A citation from the Secretary of State for your involvement, and as you said in the green room, you never anticipated this reaction.
No, I never anticipated this reaction. What I just wanted to light the dome. I think what I looked at is for other occasions they light the dome, and I said, well, why can't we do it for Black History Month? And I called the governor's office. Actually, I texted her first, and she got back to me, and with conversation back and forth, in a 2-year span, we managed to get it done for this.
So this was a long time in the coming.
It was a long time in the coming. People thought I was crazy. There was resistance, and I hounded folks for money.
Because it takes money to do this. They need the bulbs, and they need the labor to go up there and change them out.
It's a $500 per week to do it. I tried to get the governor to waive the cost, and I told her, I'm just this little person. I don't belong to no company, no agency. I am not a part of any affiliation. I'm just a me,
And you had to go out and ask folks.
I did. I did a GoFundMe page, and I tortured people. I tortured people until we finally did it, and I was so excited. And we did it. We had a few complications.
Oh, this is.
we had a few complications trying to get them lit the way we hope to see it.
There was some conversation because it's supposed to be red and black and green. Now you have the flag. This is the Pan-African flag.
No, it's the African-American flag.
The African-American flag. Now, red for the blood and the struggle, black for people of color, green for the land, the symbol of hope, a liberated future, which Black heroes spoke. So that's the colors that you wanted up there. For a little while it was black, a little while it was white, and it looked Italian.
Yes, and it looked Italian. And the first day it looked Italian, we was all like, oh, what is that? What is that? But I called them. They were very open and working with me. I talked to Dan at the State House. Dan, you did a
Shout out to Dan.
Shout out to Dan. And we worked together to get it to where it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's absolutely beautiful.
So what's the reaction you've heard from folks now? It's been 2 years in the making. You had to get the money, get the bulbs just right. But you've said you've heard from so many folks in person and on Facebook.
Yes, they're happy. People that I've never met before, seen before, talked to before, sent out great accolades. I did a program at with the kids from Federal Hill and the community, and we did a program at the State House, and it was absolutely phenomenal for it to be able to happen. So yeah, I got a lot of happy people out there. Because I have this philosophy that I picked up. It's an African philosophy. It's called Ubuntu. I am who I am because of who we are. And that is what this is all about. It's about the we, and I'm the me and the we. I'm not no big person. I'm not going to say I'm not great, because in my eyes I'm great, and in many eyes I'm great. But, I'm not this public person.
You're just one person who wanted to make a difference.
Make a difference. I think that all of our children are important, and all of them need to know that they're important and their culture is important. I believe in diversity. I believe in that we all bring something to the table. And I just think that we all need to work together to make everybody okay. I looked at many, many Rhode Island people who make a difference in the community, who have shown us how to do this thing. It's been a wonderful journey. But I'm grateful for the new people in my life. They're the ones that got me here with you. Because if I didn't know outreach, I did none of that stuff. I just put it on Facebook
Just
and
one
talk
that
to people.
lit up, and it's still going to be lit up for several more days now.
Yes,
And there's
Monday or Tuesday.
Till Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
And there's an event tomorrow night at the State House.
Yes, I'm trying to get everybody together. I want them to come down to the State House, talk about how we can keep this going, because this is an important factor. You know, we all need to be able to be recognized, and African American children need to know that they're important too. We all need to know that we're important. We got the Italian flag, you got the Dominican flag, you got the Puerto Rican flag, you got everybody's flag and everybody's color. You have the, you know, you have breast cancer month, you have all of that going on. So everybody needs to be recognized in our community.
Speaking of recognizing, you've got a young person around the corner. You want to give her a little shout out?
Oh, hi, Jamila. Thanks for hanging out with Grandma. My granddaughter's here with me. She told
Her very
She
cool
said-
grandma.
She said, "You're okay, Grandma." She said, "Breathe before you lose it."
From the mouths of babes, and Nathan Bishop, 7th grader. Glad she came down here as well.
Yep.
But wanted to tell the story again. You saw the flag on Facebook. People said, "Why is it white? Where's the black color?" Lots of
Yes,
discussions
yes.
around it, but you know, we wanted to tell the story, and that's what we're so great to be able to do down here.
Let's talk about the red, the black, and the green. The red is, like you said, for the blood. The black is for the people, and the green. And in talking to the Dan at the State House, he said, black is the absence of light. And that was powerful to me. You know, that was powerful, and it brought the picture together. It brought it all together. So, you know, we didn't want no purple black light. We wanted to look the way it was supposed to look.
Supposed to be true black.
And he did a fabulous job, and I couldn't ask for any better. You know, this weekend was some glitz in the colors too, but it's back on. Come see it. Bring your children to see it. It's absolutely phenomenal, and I'm grateful that I just persevered in getting it done, and I'm grateful to the community who trusted and believed in me and believed that I was going to be successful in doing this. I have one man that I know. His name is Broadway Joe. Broadway Joe has nothing, but he gave me $1, and that $1 was so important to me. So yeah, next year, when you see my GoFundMe page, don't make me hound you to get some money so we can do this again.
As you said, harassed, threatened, got the money.
Oh
that
my
you-
goodness, harassed. The last person that gave me money, she said, "Okay, Miss Pam, here." I said, "Yes, we did it."
More than down, got the lights up there. The event's tomorrow night at the State House. We'll put up links for that as well. But I'm so glad you could come in here to
Thank
tell
you.
the story, because if you're in Rhode Island and you drove by the State House, you've seen the lights, and now you have the story. Pam Gomes, I appreciate your taking the time.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming in. As the snow's coming down here, not supposed to get a lot, but again, be careful if you're out there. We're going to be back here tomorrow in the Navigate Credit Union Broadcast Center at 3 o'clock. I'll be here at 4. Stay tuned for more news at GoLocal Prov. Thank you for watching. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel.